Let me see if I can get something down. I'm gonna maybe do a little bit of a rant here for a couple minutes, but I think there's gonna be some good value and quality in this if I can get it right. Let me see if I can get it right. Um, so just a touch of a background from where I'm coming from with this point is I was studying pickup, PUA, pickup artistry, how to pick up women, probably for about 8 years. Now, granted, this isn't like study, isn't like a course in school. This is just very passive studying, meaning, every once in a while I'll watch a video or I'll read something or I'll look at it, and I know the basic premise. I know the basic understanding of doing it, and I've done it myself probably for about 3 years, off and on. About the last year, pretty heavy. At least I've improved in the last year. I don't know if I'd say heavy because heavy would imply consistent. I haven't been incredibly consistent, but I've been consistent enough to see some improvements. Before that, I was strictly a guy who would just go online dating, and I would meet my girls from online dating. And obviously, we all know the quality of girls you get in that scenario, and I was no exception. I got very low quality girls. I wouldn't say very low quality girls, but I got low quality girls. Let's say nothing was above a 6, and I wouldn't say anything below a 5 because I wouldn't go that low. But I would stoop to a 5, and I would say my average was probably a 6, maybe 6.2. I got a couple 7s, a few, actually I only think I got one 8. I never got anything above an 8. But my average was probably a 6, mostly 6s. Okay, couple 5s. I delved into the trash cans a little bit sometimes, and I'd go with a 5. I don't think I ever went with a 4, not that I can remember, but maybe. I mean, I definitely had some dates with some 4s that I turned down, or I walked out, and I was like, ugh. The worst is when it's so bad online that you're getting turned down by 4s, and it can get that bad, man. Trust me. And anyway, so my thinking here, I wanted to talk. I gave that little bit of a background because I want to talk about the pressure that is put on men to say the right thing. And when I first started gaming, it was probably about 2008, 2009. And again, this is online game, so it's not normal game. I didn't start normal person-to-person game until about 2016 when I first started. When I really started was about 2017, midway through 2017 was when I really for real started, when I really got out there and started approaching. But again, before that, it was just online games. So when I first started learning about what it is, like even just the basics of being social with girls, you realize that 90% of what you're doing is you're trying not to say the wrong thing. Okay, now granted, if you look like Jason Momoa, then you could say, I love hamburgers, and just say, I love hamburgers, I love hamburgers, I love hamburgers every single time she talks, and it won't matter. She's going to want to fuck you, and she's going to want to date you and marry you, like, because looks matter. I don't care what anyone says, looks matter. Now, there is a caveat. The caveat is if you make her feel good, it can cancel out your looks. Or if you have money, it can cancel out your looks. Or if you have social status, it can cancel out your looks. And we see these exceptions. Actually, I wouldn't even call them exceptions. We see these rules all the time in real life. There's always that short, bald, ugly dude who's got the woman. Why? Because he's got the money, he's got the status. Or there's a third option. He's just a fun guy, or he's funny, or he's actually got game, heaven forbid. It is possible. I would do a caveat. I would do a addition onto that LMS rule, that looks money status rule, and that's if you have game. So what I learned on online game, I picked it up very quickly. Being that I'm not a Jason Momoa, I'm your average looking guy, maybe slightly above average, but probably average. Or maybe if you look at me at a certain angle, I'm below average. Maybe if you're not attracted to me at all, which I'm sure a lot of girls aren't, because if they were, then I'd have better feedback. But if you're not attracted to me at all, then yeah, you might think I'm below a 4. I don't know. Some women are not at all attracted to me. Some women are kind of attracted to me. So it just depends on my on the time of day, how the how the sunlight hits me, and what angle you're looking at me from. But anyway, so you learn the basics of being social. And one of the basics of being social is this: you gotta say the right things. You gotta say the right things. And it's not even just what you say, it's how you say them. And that was one of the most difficult things for me, being that I was gaming online, was how do I come across in a damn online online platform? How do I come across as if I'm a valuable male, as if I'm an alpha male, or as if I'm a bad boy, or how do I convey attraction through frickin' messages, man? And that was the most frustrating and hardest thing. And I really don't know half the time how I did succeed when I did succeed. And a lot of it was maybe luck, a lot of it was timing, a lot of it was the fact that maybe some of these girls were desperate, or maybe they just, I don't know if I'd say desperate, but maybe, like I said, timing, how, they're coming at, a lot of them probably coming out of a relationship, or some guy might have, ignored them or rejected them, etc. And I might have been their rebound. It's like, you hate to say things like that, because it's like it puts yourself down. But when you realize what you're up against, when you realize that girls are going for 10s, girls that are below a 5 are going for 10s, girls that are like 4s and 5s, they believe that they deserve the 10s, and they're like, why am I not getting the 10s? And they can't put 2 and 2 together. And then a lot of times they do get the 10s, but the 10s are just like, they just pump and dump. And this is why you have these girls out here who have this mentality like, fuck all guys, because Chad Thundercock, the 10 out of 10 guy, fucked them and never talked to them again. Right? And they thought he was going to love her forever, when in reality she's a 4, and she doesn't realize she's a 4, because Joe every day down the street wants to fuck her, and so does every other Joe every day, because she's got a big pair of tits, but she's her face isn't that great, or whatever. And this is what we're up against constantly, is these girls who constantly think that they're 10s, when in reality they're probably maybe a 5 on a good day. But they got big tits. And this is how the male brain works. The male brain says, oh, big tits, I want that, right? But she's really a 5, when it comes to ass, or face, or God forbid, her personality or her character, which is probably a 2 at best, right? Because women don't have to develop. They don't have to develop intellectually. They don't have to develop their character. They don't have to develop morally, because nature hasn't provided it. Men will still fuck them. Men will still marry them. Men will still have kids with them. They don't need to have those other traits. That's what I believe. Okay. So that's what we're up against. So for me to say, oh, okay, well, I was only able to get, these women at certain times, certain dates, that's probably the truth, because, I'm not Chad Thundercock. I'm not a 10 out of 10. I'm maybe a 6 out of 10, 6.5, 7 if I'm lucky. 7 on a good day. When I got my exercise and diet down, maybe I'm a 7. Maybe. I'd say 6.8 tops. Right? I'm probably a 5. I'm probably a 5 on a bad day. It's just the truth, man. I'm just being realistic. You know what I'm saying? I've had maybe a dozen girlfriends in my life. I've had sex, enough times, a few dozen times, to know what it feels like inside a pussy, to know what it feels like with my dick in a girl's mouth. Okay, so I'm not virgin incel, but I'm realistic, right?